is shining bright. Yeah, I'm Bobo and Cramer, and they're bringing the heat tonight. Talking New York sports, you know what I mean. BS boys and the kings of the sea. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the pimps are loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit. They're rising to the top, from the Mets to the Knicks. They got all the scoop, pouring out the passion, yeah, they're leading the truth. Every episode party, grab your friends and cheer. In this podcast palace, we got the atmosphere. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand of the lost, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit, rising to the top, get loud. Tune in, turn it up, feel electric sound. With every single word, you're never gonna frown. From the Midline Giants to the Madison Square, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, this man can get it out. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand the loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit. They're rising to the top, get loud. Yeah, the best in the house is where the legends play. Bobo and Cramer, leading the way. Breaking plastic slides, shout it out loud. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town.
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, alongside my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, and of course, the executive producer, the Grimace.
Yep, that's right. He's in the building, and always glad to see that he's in our show's intro.
There we go, exactly. Making his way. I can't believe that was almost a year ago, too, when the Grimace threw out the first pitch. We are rapidly approaching that right now. And shout out to everybody watching us right now on YouTube, as we're doing this live on YouTube for the first time in a while. So we appreciate everybody hanging out with us here on this Thursday evening. As usually we record this on Wednesday night, but actually, Dan, you went out to John Sullivan's last night and had a little bit of a good time. And you want to talk about that a little bit? How was your night last night?
Yeah, I was just meeting up with one of our old friend Andrea from Queens was in town, so I had to make sure to visit him, make sure and say hi to Andrea and stuff. Met up with Andrea at Sullivan's. And it was great seeing everyone.
Oh, very cool. And shout out to the great Andrea from Queens, as not only is she a great fan of all this nonsense that like the O&A stuff, and she was always a face on the East Side Dave show back in the day when it was at Compound Media. And we want to thank her for her service too, as she's a active military.
Yep, exactly. Of course, she's or I should say, formerly Andrea Queens. She's over in Idaho now.
Idaho, really? I didn't know she moved that far away. Wow.
Yeah, she moved to Idaho. Yeah, I'm sure you remember a while back she moved. She moved to Idaho.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about her moving, but geez, I didn't realize it was in Idaho. So, well, good for her. I'm glad to hear that she's doing well. And Dan, we got a lot to get into today, no doubt about it. As we're just starting up the baseball season here now. We're just a couple of weeks out too from the NFL draft. It's really crazy to even think about how close we're getting to the draft, though. We're not going to really get too much into that tonight, but that's on the docket for sure, no doubt about it. Mets and the Yankees both kicking things off over the last the last week or two now, as we're about 10, 11 games into the regular season now. And even with that too, Dan, we got hockey and basketball winding down, getting ready for the playoffs, although unfortunately our New York Rangers will not be participating. We'll get into that in a little bit.
That's why I wore this shirt, because of how bad the Rangers were doing. I pulled out. That's why I chose this Mets shirt, because it's a little nod to how also to how tough it was for the Rangers this year. With we're wearing this little shirt that I bought some time back from the 7 line.
Yeah, definitely need the beer guy for a type of season that the New York Rangers have given us. But Dan, let's start off with a better topic right now, and that's surprisingly, for compared to most of the years we've been doing this, is our New York Mets. New York Mets, Dan.
And you know who else is happy that the Mets have gotten off to this good start? My mom.
Exactly, man. And everybody should be happy that is rooting for the Mets right now, as it didn't go too well at Citi Field yesterday. The Mets' 6-game win streak was snapped. They dropped to 8-4. They got shut out by the Marlins 5-0 yesterday at Citi Field. But guess what? The Mets are 8-4, meaning they played 12 games and they just came off a 6-game winning streak. I'd say things are going pretty good so far. You really can't complain. Look, especially this early in the season, the bats are going to be hit and miss every once in a while. It's going to be tough to keep them that consistent, especially when you have a bunch of guys that are notoriously slow starters on the Mets, specifically Francisco Lindor. But hey, they've already scored 10 runs twice. They swept the Blue Jays. They've taken 2 out of 3 from the Marlins twice. So they've been doing everything they've been doing. They had a 6-game homestand and they went 5-1. You really can't ask for much more than that, Dan. The Mets have done everything we've asked after that first disappointing series loss to the Astros, which, by the way, could have been worse because the only game they won was a 3-1 win. And, they could have had a much worse open to this season, and they didn't. And they managed to grab a game from a tough Houston team, and they've been very, they've just played good baseball since then. Good defense, clutch hitting, and the thing that has been the theme of the entire season so far is good pitching.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they've gotten good. They've gotten good pitching. I just wish they'd get. Hopefully, they'll get stretched out a bit more during the season. We'll be seeing the pitch. Hopefully, the pitching stretches out a bit more. Because I feel like they just the way they just slowed down these pitchers getting ready during spring training is showing a little bit early into the regular season that they're not stretched out as far as we want them to.
Oh yeah, we can definitely see that the Mets have, they still have a long way to go into getting this rotation into mid-season form, so to speak. But hey, you can't complain. They've still been managing to do it, and they've been helped because the bullpen's been good too. And Mendy's done a really great job of managing the bullpen so far this season. The Mets manager Carlos Mendoza, but they've been aided by an abundance of off days so far early this year, which, in April, that happens all the time. You have all the opening day games. You have everything along those lines and everything. And they're going to put in a bunch of off days here. But now we're coming up to a point in the schedule where the Mets are going to be playing for about 2 solid weeks in a row. I believe it's 13 straight days after this off day. So at some point in the next week or so, I believe it's going to be either April 18th or 19th, whatever game that is for the Mets. That'll be the first test to see what they have to do this year regarding a 6th starter. Now, that was their plan for the whole offseason, to go with 6 starters, because specifically Kodai Senga, the Mets only want to pitch him once a week, once every 6 days. They don't want to go crazy with him, and they want to keep him on a Japanese-type schedule where in Japan, they only have these guys pitch literally once a week. That's it. So it looks like the Mets are going to want to do that again, so they wouldn't have to use their 6th starter for the first time up until about April 19th, or right in that area, one of those days, the 18th and 19th, in that vicinity. So it's going to be a big test to see, A, who the Mets trust in that spot, and B, can these guys start getting length to even get to that point right now? Because as you mentioned too, Dan, we have seen so far one Mets starter this season go 6 innings. That's it. That's the only thing we've seen through these first 12 games. and it's pathetic when you really think about it. The state of starting pitching in Major League Baseball these days, Dan. But when you see Tyler McGill out there, who he was up and down all over the place. His first 8 pitches were out of the strike zone the other day. What do you think, Dan? Are the Mets even in a position right now where we have Tyler McGill and Griffin Canning in this rotation right now? We're already thin, and we know we're not going to be seeing, Sean Manaea for probably another month or two. So there's no one coming to save us right now from a pitching standpoint. Do you think the Mets, pitching depth is even deep enough right now to be going to a 6th starter? Because we still don't know what the deal with Paul Blackburn is, the other wild card that could be in this mix right now, but we don't even know what his deal is. And then if you're not going to him, then you're turning to real minor league guys like, Blade Tidwell and a couple of these kids in the minors that you would rather get some minor league innings under their belt. So, what do you think about that? Oh, sorry, Dan. Hold on. Your mic cut out there.
And this part is getting me nervous on a day that they need a 6th starter. It gets me nervous to how much they can rely on that.
Yeah. But I mean, so if you obviously we both think that it's kind of iffy if they're going to even rely on getting that 6th starter. But do you think that we could even get to that point where maybe the Mets can start extending these guys that much that, maybe they could even just use an opener out of the bullpen? Because if we start getting more runs, more innings out of these starting pitchers, like let's say, God forbid, a guy pitches into the 7th inning one time, then you might be able to piece it together where you have a, maybe a Max Kranick throw the first 2 innings of a game. You could even have Kranick throw 2 innings followed by Budo. You have the first 4 innings covered by those guys. I feel like I would be more inclined to have a bullpen game than have one of these kids come up that we're not even sure what we're going to be getting out of them yet.
Yeah, well, the way I could see it is maybe they could set themselves up for that. If they're in a situation where a pitcher throws deep enough, I feel like they'll be set up for that. I feel like.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, please. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
That's going to be the key, is if we can have consistent maybe 2 games where pitchers throw deep enough, then maybe I feel like that could be a realistic idea. I feel like it depends on what happens between now and then is going to determine that. And hopefully that's what happens in our favor, that we get a pitcher that's that throws deep enough into the game.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to come down to. It's all going to determine what's going on with the Mets if these guys are able to get any length out of them, get to the 6th, get to the 7th inning, so you don't have to rely on Max Kranick coming in the 4th inning, or or any of these guys coming in earlier than you would perceive. Then you don't have to really worry about it. But yeah, man, it's going to be real interesting to see what these next couple of games hold for the Mets. And obviously, we see Tyler McGill. The guy's been good this year. We really can't knock him too much. But, come on, man. You've been in the league since 2021. I want to see Tyler McGill go past the 5th inning. Like, the guy has to start getting consistently into the 6th and 7th inning. When you're coming out in the 4th and the 5th, you're not doing anything for us. The guy went out there, and especially after that first inning, when you knew he was behind the 8 ball for the rest of the day, he's in the 4th inning and he's got 90 pitches under his belt already. I'm saying to myself, we got to get this guy out of there, and granted, McGill, for the most part, look, he's 2-1. He didn't even allow any earned runs, so his ERA actually went down. He's got one of the lowest ERAs in the league right now. That's not 0.00. And, so you got to give him credit for that, but I still don't trust the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still don't trust him yet. It's going to take a lot more consistent good starts for me to want to have faith in Tyler McGill. Also, I got to say, the last couple of days, of course, in addition to, as I mentioned on our Patreon show, I was at opening day. Then, everything got seated home opener. I was also at the game on Monday because the Mets have this little rewards app thing on, when you spent money at Citi Field and attended games, you get reward points, you get a ballpark app. So I got a free ticket I had a free ticket coupons. claimed a free ticket to the game on Monday. The seat happened in the lower bowl because that which was pretty good. Well, what happened was similar thing the next day because tickets I won from a Twitter contest on a Twitter page, right? I won. So I went to the game on Tuesday, which by the way, 2 back-to-back days that were freezing cold.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about that. And yeah, Dan, I mean, and let's talk about freezing cold right now because there are a couple of bats in the Mets lineup right now that are freezing cold right now. I want to get your opinion on. And Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos, Dan. Beatty is 3 for 27 to start this season. He's got 1 extra base hit. That's it. No RBIs. He has been terrible. His defense has been okay, even though he made that bad play at second base yesterday where he had the errant throw that kind of cost McGill another run there in the 5th or the 6th inning. Oh no, it must have been the 5th because he didn't record an out yet. So, Beatty has really provided nothing offensively, and Vientos is 5 for 42. He's also not off to a good start, although he does have an RBI. He does have a couple of doubles to his credit as well. But I feel like, the question here is, who are you more worried about? I don't even think it's close. I think it's Brett Beatty because Mark Vientos, first off, not only do we have the ability to look back at the season that he had last year, where he hit 27 home runs in only 111 games. So we know the good that we're going to get out of Brett Beatty, or at least we know the ceiling, the potential of Brett Beatty. Of Mark Vientos. But Brett Beatty, man, this guy right now, he's had over 600 plate appearances in the major leagues. 600. That's how far, that's how much the extensive, the time after time after time giving Brett Beatty a chance to prove himself. And he just looks terrible. Even if you're going to look at their at-bats, Brett Beatty looks defensive, like he's fighting the ball off. He has no confidence. Mark Vientos drew 3 walks the other day. That means he's at least seeing the strike zone well. He's working the count. The results aren't there yet, but you can see the process is good. Brett Beatty, on the other hand, not so much. So what do you think, Dan? Who are you more concerned with?
Yeah, I'm with you on the same boat. I feel like Mark Vientos is about to break out of that slump because I'm just seeing it in the at bats that he's about to break the slump and getting like good wood on the ball. I feel like it just looks like he's about to break a slump. Beatty's looking like he's struggling a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah, he looks like he's struggling he looks like he's struggling a lot. And I feel like the clock is ticking because I feel like there's a good chance he could be sent down as soon as McNeil is back potentially.
Yeah, that's true. And McNeil, funny you bring that up too, because that was one of the other things I was going to get to. But McNeil is about to begin a rehab assignment. We'll get to it in a second too. But Francisco Alvarez also just began a rehab assignment the other day. But real quick, before we move on from this topic, I just want to give you Brett Beatty's career numbers. Well, actually, first off, this is Brett Beatty in spring training this year. 353. He was 18 for 51, 4 home runs and 11 RBIs. As the great Joe Beningo would say, he was unconscious this spring training. You could not get this guy out. He was awesome. This is the type of Brett Beatty we want to see in the regular season. We have not seen that. As I said, he was 3 for 27, which translates to a 111 batting average to start this year off. No home runs, no RBIs. For his career, as I mentioned, he has over 600 plate appearances in the big leagues. To be exact, 629 plate appearances, 571 official at-bats. That's basically a full season's worth of time at the big leagues there. And for his career, he's hitting .210 with 15 home runs and 55 RBIs. Look, the home runs and RBIs really aren't that bad, although most of that came back in 2023. But the guy has just provided nothing offensively. And I like Brett Beatty. I want to give him the chance, I was behind him getting the opportunity coming out of spring training, but sometimes you have to know when to pull the plug, and he's doing nothing to convince us otherwise right now.
Yeah, exactly. Just nothing that could, nothing to convince us otherwise. He looks completely lost at the plate, and
Yeah.
and I'm just wondering, was this a fluke what we saw in spring training, or is this guy gonna be able to live up to what we expected from what we saw in spring training? Because I'm scratching my head looking at this, and I'm starting to also wonder if the Grimace needs to bring Brett Beatty a shake to bring the mojo.
I could definitely get behind that, no doubt about it. We need to set up Brett Beatty getting some kind of Grimace shake. Maybe that'll get him out of his early season slumber. And
Yep, exactly. Either that, or he ended up, or he somehow is roommates with that energy vampire from What We Do in the Shadows.
I could see that too. All right, a couple more things to get here with the Mets, but real quick, want to show a couple of chats. Hey, what's going on, Richard? Want to give you a shout out here. Thanks for dropping in on us here this evening. And yes, we agree. Brett Beatty does suck at this point. And also, thank you for the shout out on my Beach Boys shirt. There you go. Love the Beach Boys. And so shout out to Richard. Thank you for joining us here. And shout out to everybody else in the chat right now. We got Disabled Officer hanging out with us as always. I really appreciate that. Yeah, man, let's keep it rolling along here. As I did want to get your opinion too on Edwin Diaz, because it was a little concerning yesterday. The guy comes in a 2-0 game. Next thing you know, it's 5-0. He's giving up bombs. He's not being able to find the plate. His fastball, which, when we saw him just earlier this year, even one of his earlier appearances, going out there and blowing it past people 98, 99 miles an hour, it was really only coming in about 94 or 95 the other day. Is there any worry for you with Edwin Diaz right now? I know we have seen over the years since we've gotten Edwin that there is something to it, that he's just a different kind of pitcher when it's not a save situation. So what do you think? Just a bad day, or are you a little worried?
No, I just think it was a bad day. That I feel like he goes through these maybe once in a while, and I just feel like maybe the weather, the fact that it was unusually cold by baseball standards, may have played a factor. I feel like a little bit.
Yeah, that could definitely be it too. And he's one of those guys that really relies on he really relies on his pinpoint accuracy when he has it. Now, I know that he does walk a few guys every once in a while. We've seen him lose his command, but then we've also seen when he's on, it's like on a dime, that he just has that ability to rein it in, to get himself together, and to figure it out and make his pitches. But he just didn't have that ability yesterday. So very unfortunate, but luckily it didn't happen in a save spot.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like he'll bounce back, and I have a feeling he'll be fine, especially if he comes into the game on Friday and this is a weird situation, Sacramento on Friday.
Yeah, that's true too. Going to be real interesting to see how that plays out, especially since the ball right now is flying out of that park, which let's not forget, it's in Sacramento. Sacramento's in the PCL. If you're not familiar, that's they're playing in their minor league stadium right now, and the PCL is the Pacific Coast League, where the offensive numbers are just through the roof. So the ball has been flying out of there, and apparently, if you bet the over for every game in the Athletics, for every home game they've played this year, you would have won. That's how many runs they've been scoring at this ballpark so far.
Yeah, it's like weird. I don't know. I think this game. I'm hoping this game doesn't cause me to have a heart attack or something. watching this next 3 days, and they're playing. The Mets are going to be playing against the Athletics, and they're in the Athletics at temporary home while they're waiting for Vegas because they literally wore out their welcome in Oakland so much that they're having to play somewhere else while their stadium in Vegas is under construction.
Yeah, it's true. So, and they're not the Oakland A's anymore, but they're not the Las Vegas A's yet. They're just the A's, the Athletics. That's all they are this year in very, very strange fashion. So, Mets' first ever trip to Sacramento. So that'll always be interesting for us to see. And real quick, as we round out things with the Mets here, Dan, which, wow, I can't believe how much time we spent on them already. The Alvarez and McNeil are getting closer. We know Alvarez is going to be back. You know, you have to remember, too, when these guys go on a rehab assignment, the clock starts. You only have 3 weeks to get ready. And right now, if I'm looking at the date, and yesterday's date was April 9th, that means that Francisco Alvarez has to be activated by the New York Mets by either April 30th or May 1st. So we're only a couple of weeks away from getting him back, and that's if the Mets use his entire timetable down there in the minor leagues to bring him back. But he caught 5 innings. He went 1 for 3. So, you know, I want to ask your opinion too, Dan, because there are a lot of Met fans that really like the defense that we've seen out of Terrens and Singer, the backup catcher who is the replacement for Alvarez during his injury time. So a lot of Met fans are really enjoying it. And I got to say, they both call great games, and they both have a gun behind the plate. They've been throwing runners out at a higher rate than we can even imagine over the last few years, especially guys that grew up with Mike Piazza and Todd Hundley throwing guys out. You know, so they weren't exactly at the top of the list. And the Mets have been one of the better teams in baseball at doing that this year. What do you think with Alvarez? Are you one of these Met fans who are like, hey, Alvarez, take your time, or do you want him back ASAP?
I think we need him back as soon as possible. We need that bat in the lineup. Plus that, I feel like the pitchers benefit from having Alvarez back. He seems to have been called a good game and has made a lot of great strides defensively.
Yeah,
so I feel like he's a player we really need back. We need back in the lineup soon. And I'm keeping track of his rehab assignments, and he'll look like he'll be back. If this goes right, he'll be back in time for one of the games I'm attending, because I got a few games in April lined up. And one of those games is on my birthday of all days. On April 30th.
Oh, yeah, okay. Very cool. Very cool. The Mets have a homestand there on your birthday.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm always there. If the Mets are home on my birthday, I am there on my birthday which my birthday falls on Whip 'em Out Wednesday of all days.
There you go. A little shout out to the old O&A days. And actually, since you brought that up anyway, I want to bring back up our buddy Richard hanging out in the chat there. And he said to you, Bobo, I've been listening to you since the O&A days. You rock, my friend. So what would you like to say to our friend Richard?
Yep, I'd like to say really thank you for all the appreciation, and thank you for watching us tonight. Words cannot express the appreciation I have for everyone watching and who's appreciated my appearances, and especially those who are watching tonight and who are watching this show. They're probably watching it later in the day or maybe tomorrow if they couldn't catch us live, but they're watching this show at some point. But words cannot express how much I appreciate that. And I appreciate that when people, will give me a little shout out if they recognize me. And I actually want to give a little insight into where I feel like I get recognized the most. I feel like I get recognized, of course, obviously in New York. I feel like I get recognized, especially in Met games where some O&A fans know I'm like a Mets fan. I'm at Citi Field a lot. I also feel like Philadelphia, I get recognized a bit because when Opie and Anthony was on syndicated radio, in the afternoons back when they were on NEW here in New York, one of the places they were syndicated on was in Philadelphia. And one of the places outside New York during those syndication years that they did very well was in Philadelphia. So sometimes I got recognized by a couple of, when I saw the Mets on the road in Philadelphia, I got recognized by some Philly fans, recognized me. And of course, Boston, how O&A has roots in Boston. So I've gotten recognized in Boston before couple times from some O&A fans that saw me there at Fenway.
Very cool. Yeah, of course. As you said too, the Philly was definitely a hotbed for O&A there. So very cool. And also too, if you know, for the big O&A fans, it's going to be really cool. This Sunday night on WABC radio here in New York City, and you can listen to it anywhere online and on the WABC radio app. Anthony Cumia, who's just been doing his show for the last few weeks, I'd say the last month or so, Anthony's been on there. He's going to have his special guest for 3 hours in studio, the great Jimmy Norton, who we all love, who was the third mic on Opie and Anthony, and you know, obviously one of the funniest comedians out there. So it is going to be such a you know, such a fun trip down memory lane to see these two guys back in a radio studio again.
Yeah, I know. I just can't wait to see this. Hear what this is going to sound like. These two appearing together on terrestrial airways for the first time in ages. Of course, we've seen him appear on of course Anthony's other show that he does, the Anthony Cumia show he does on like a censored TV or whatever it's called, whatever comedy is called these days. He does that, but lately he's also has a show on WABC. We're gonna get to see him and Jim Norton Jim. I'm sorry, Musa Vigil, but appearing on the terrestrial radio airwaves.
Yeah,
for the first time in ages.
Yeah, I was thinking about it actually. It really has to be since 2009, because I think I remember they got taken. I was actually coming back home. I was driving back from Florida in spring training, and we finally got to the from spring training in March of 2009, and I had put on Opie and Anthony, or because back then they were on 92.3 when it was free FM, and it was just playing some music and crap. I was so pissed that's how I found out that Opie and Anthony were no longer on free FM. So it must be really at least 15, 16 years.
Yep, exactly. I found it out in a unique way because I had access to both regular radio and I had my XM subscription, right? So I put it on XM, and that's what I heard them talk about it. And I knew the day before they talked, it sounded like that was their last show on 92.3 of their simulcast. Remember, simulcast that the part of their show was on K-Rock and on XM at the time. So I knew the moment they said the moment they were doing that show, and I knew the moment, and I knew exactly when Opie and Anthony quoted that line, the way they ended their show with that little line. I knew, yeah, this is the last time we're hearing Opie and Anthony on terrestrial radio.
Yeah, unfortunately, you were right about that. Unfortunately, and so Sunday night, Jimmy and Anthony, can be really fun to check that out. All right, let's just wrap this here with the Mets. Last thing on them, obviously, as we mentioned already, they're going to be in Sacramento tomorrow, taking on the Athletics. It's going to be Griffin Canning, who's been pretty good this year so far for the Mets, as much as his name and career stat line might be a little underwhelming. The guy's actually pitched very well for the Mets this year, and he's going against J.P. Sears. And the interesting thing about J.P. Sears is he's a former Yankee prospect that actually got dealt to Oakland in the Frankie Montas deal from a couple of years ago. So, a current Mets pitcher, this guy who was traded from the Yankees to the A's, still on the Oakland quote-unquote A's, and now pitching against the Mets tomorrow. And, real interesting to see what J.P. Sears looked like as a young pitcher. And if, you're looking at his numbers so far, 1-1 with 3.46 ERA, he's been pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna be facing him, and we're gonna be facing them, and hopefully the Mets fans will scratch out a win, especially for the Met fans on the West Coast who are going to be probably attending this game.
Yeah, it's true, man. Us Met fans always travel well. I actually really wanted, or if it was easier to get to, I really would have loved to go to this series because it's kind of like when the Rangers play in Arizona these days. They're playing in a college stadium out there in Arizona, or they used to while that was there. But it would have been really fun to attend a game in that atmosphere. And the same thing with Sacramento. It would have been really fun to check that out. But I'm sure all the fans that are out there will already have a blast. And let's hope the Mets can have a good weekend out there. If anything, we hope the bats will. It might be a little tough for our pitching because the PCL and how the ball flies out there.
I know, but let's hope the Mets win. I got to rub the belly of the Grimace, our executive producer. Rub the belly for good luck for the Mets of our executive producer.
And that's how you executive produce.
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
And so, all right, let's move it on to the Yankees. And we got the Yankees right now who are coming off a nice win. Yesterday, they snapped their 3-game skid. The Yankees got off to such a hot start this year that everybody was pretty much putting them in the World Series for all that kind of stuff and how good they've been. And, especially with their with the torpedo bats and everything like that. So, it had a lot of, a lot of people were jealous of the way they started and everything. But look, they came back down to earth. They ended up, doing exactly what you would have thought they would do. They came back down to earth, but they still have enough on this team, even without Garrett Cole, to that they don't have to score 20 runs every night. They'll still be a productive team, and we got that in the form of one of their off-season free agent signings, and that was Max Fried. The Yankees end up going out there. They snapped the skid. They went 4-3, and Max Fried dominated, Dan. He's now 2-0 with a 1.56 ERA. He goes out there, he throws 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts. Dan, when the Yankees wrote that big check to bring Max Fried in here, this past winter, this was exactly the type of thing that they were thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they're thinking at, and it's a matter of it's gonna be matter of how long Max Fried can hold up this year, because he's been coming off injuries. So it's going to be a question of how many innings this guy's going to be able to throw. You have to take that into account, and we'll see his going into the next start and the rest of the season. But so far, the Yankees look like they're in a so-so season, and like I said, this time the Yankees have a little bit more competition in the AL East. It looks like Boston's going to be the toughest opponent the Yankees are going to be facing in the American League.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's going to be a real close race there in the American League East. And look, hey, we even saw the Blue Jays this past weekend at Citi Field, and even though they didn't have that great a weekend against us, I could tell you that team's not going to be that bad all year. They're going to start hitting. We didn't even see Vlad Guerrero doing anything really during that. So 100% think that American League East is going to be real tough to get through this year, Dan. So let's keep that in mind. Also, too, we're talking about the Mets worrying about their closer. The Yankees are probably a little bit worried about their closer. Yeah.
Also, I was just one of my friends. I don't know why. He wanted to see the. He was asking because he could have gone and pick to look this up himself, but he wanted to see the Yankees on the road in Tampa. At Tampa's temporary stadium, which is the Yankees spring training.
That's Steinbrenner Field.
Yeah. This is a weird promotion. All right, talk about this. You can really tell how much the Rays feel like they feel like they feel like they can rely on their own fans to show up. They expect it to be mostly Yankee fans living in the Tampa area or Yankee fans traveling there. Look at the giveaway on this the Yankees, their road game in Tampa. Look what this giveaway says.
We can't see that.
It's Yankees baseball card set day.
Wait, so at the Tampa Bay Rays, we really can't see it. It's too bright. But so at the Tampa Bay Rays game for the Yankees and Rays, they're going to be giving away a Yankees team set of cards?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that is
I'm just laughing at that, but that is like, I know that is like literally an overstatement about how many, like when I realize how many Yankee fans show up how many fans of the visiting teams show up usually on the road to Tampa, that they just realize, oh, they just need to come up with a way to really attract fans if they're not already going to attract enough people attending that game. They decided to just give out a giveaway dedicated to the visiting team.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's so weird.
Because they forgot it's just going to be mostly Yankee fans showing up, so let's just give.
Still, it's like if the Mets were playing the Braves and they gave away a Braves team set card at Citi Field, that makes no sense. I mean, I guess I understand why they're doing it, like you said, but still, very weird.
I was just trying to. One of my friends wanted to figure out what they were going for. A Yankee fan friend in South Florida, in Florida, wanted to figure out what the tickets were going for that game. And he just saw this. Is this? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? And I looked this up, and it really is. It really is the giveaway.
Hey, by the way, what was the price of the tickets?
I don't know. I don't have time to do it because I got to backtrack the whole thing.
I thought you had it up there.
No. But I was really at the price.
Either way, that's crazy.
But I was just trying to look up to see if I remember correctly, if I was correct about what I saw when I looked it up, because I want to double check, because I saw that and I remembered that, and I figured I got to bring this up on the show because I just thought this was just pretty interesting when I looked at the listings on TickPick about that. And I couldn't believe I couldn't believe
crazy,
that.
Man.
That is even crazier than the fact that I've seen at times, I guess, someone who I guess has a deal with the Rays to sell like memorabilia auctions at games. Sometimes we'll have signed memorabilia from players on the visiting team being sold in auctions in the stadium, that people could bid on. I don't know if you've seen that before at stadiums where there's like items you could bid on. They put stuff dedicated. Yeah. Apparently I've seen that they put stuff dedicated to the visiting team, because I've never been to that. I've never been to that stadium, so I don't. But apparently I heard they've done that. So this is even crazier than that.
This is definitely crazier than that. And like you said, Dan, definitely weird things going on there. But definitely, real quick, I want to just look back at Max Fried. We're talking about his great start with the Yankees so far, 2-0, 1.56 ERA. Now, when you look at the history of the Yankees, now I don't know why this isn't coming up right now, but they have, very little. Where is this 30-17? Because I have this this graphic here that it just goes to show how where the hell is it? I know it's not coming up right now, so I'll just say it then. Oh, for some reason it's saying that the browser won't open. Okay, whatever. So, Yankees in their first 3 starts with the team, sub-2 ERA and 20-plus strikeouts. It's only happened 3 times in the entire history of the New York Yankees. That's crazy when you think about it. Now, the last time it happened was Orlando El Duque Hernandez did it in his first 3 starts in 1998. He was 2-0 with a 1.52 ERA and 23 strikeouts. The only other time before this it happened, and El Duque, was Rudy May, the lefty, doing it back for the Yankees in 1974. He had a 1.38 ERA and 22 strikeouts. So when you see Max Fried, 1.56 ERA and 21 strikeouts, he's right in that vicinity. So, I mean, you got to give him credit for that. He's right up there in Yankee history already.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I just feel like the player you mentioned in that 1974, isn't that weird year that we all heard about from our older relatives older than us, when the Yankees played at Shea for a couple of years? Is that I'm correct? I'm correct. I think that's around that time frame.
Yeah, I believe they played there at Shea in 74 and 75. Let me just double check. Let's see. 74 they played at Shea Stadium. 75 they did as well. Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing actually. So it kind of makes sense when you think about it that Rudy May started off that well pitching at Shea Stadium instead of Yankee Stadium,
Yeah, exactly. Because I just knew 74, and I remember seeing that because I my relative, one of my relatives has some old. He still has his collection of like old Yankee yearbooks, and one of them was from that year. I remember the 74 one said Shea Stadium on it.
Yeah, yeah, very cool, man. Now, real quick on the Yankees, just to round it out here. Devin Williams, their big offseason acquisition for their closer, not off to a great start. 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Almost blew the game. The Yankees actually had to pull him and put in Mark Leiter Jr. to finish the game off the other day against them. Not exactly off to a great start. And after 3 appearances so far, as the Yankees got a 12 ERA. So I think it's still too early to say, one way or the other, if he's going to have a good year or not. But it's not off to a great start. And I also, it worries me when guys get off to a start like this that a team just kind of stashes them on the injured list for a while. And that's really the last thing that Devin Williams and the Yankees need.
Yeah, exactly. It's the last thing you need is a struggle like that, and there's going to be some Yankee fans nervous, even though I feel like I can't. I find it hard to fathom a Yankee fan nervous, especially Yankee fans who are at an age where they've seen him win championships multiple times. I feel like it's hard for them to really fathom their, nervous from if you've seen him win so many times. Maybe easy correction, probably Eastside Dave.
I could see that. The Yankee fans are probably a little annoyed, but hey, you have to be patient. It's still early, just like us with Diaz. Not every year for the Mets like Diaz is going to be like 2022, where he had an incredible season. So you have to, look, that's the thing that we realize. We live in a world now where no pitcher is Mariano Rivera. No closing pitcher is going to be that money that Mariano Rivera was every time out. So yeah, you have to take the good with the bad. And even though Devin Williams isn't off to a great start, I still think by the time we roll around to the All-Star break and everything, people will be looking at Devin Williams like one of the better closers in baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like maybe Yankee fans maybe don't need to panic so much yet.
Yeah, yet. That's the key word. You're right about that. And last thing on the Yankees, next game, they have off today, just like the Mets do. And then the Yankees are taking on a West Coast team as well, although it's going to be at Yankee Stadium this weekend. The San Francisco Giants come to town. So the Mets get one side of the bay with the Athletics. The Yankees get the other side of the bay with the San Francisco Giants, as the Giants are sending out Robbie Ray against our old friend Marcus Stroman at Yankee Stadium tomorrow night. Stroman's not off to a good start. Robbie Ray is. So, we'll take that what that is. And, if you're a Yankee fan, at least getting the win off your back, yesterday and not getting swept in Detroit, you're still feeling better about your team,
Yeah, exactly. Even though I feel like Yankee fans has got to be nervous about this one because Marcus Stroman looks like his ego is getting in the way, and I don't quite have confirmation, but I've heard Marcus Stroman's been blocking a couple of Yankee fans like he's done to some Met fans when he was here.
I was on a blocking spree.
Yeah, I've heard he's acting like that, and I've said that to some Yankee fans. I says, "Oh, be ready for this," because when things get really bad for him, he just starts going on a blocking spree and all this stuff, and it's like that he went on a blocking spree when we were all upset when he opted out of when he took the 2020 season off and bailed out on our team in 2020.
Yeah, you're right. So you definitely have to keep that in mind with Marcus Stroman. When the going gets rough, Marcus Stroman gets going. So and not in a good way. He gets going out the door. So yeah, definitely. Hey, I'm not sitting here actively rooting against the Yankees, so I guess we'll see. I wouldn't mind seeing him straighten himself out tomorrow, at least against the Giants, because obviously me and you as Met fans have no love for the Giants. Always think back to that wild card game. So let's hope the Yankees beat the crap out of them this weekend.
Yep, exactly. That game's a little bit of a pain in the ass memory for me. We won't mention that guy's name. We won't
name.
mention Connor. We don't mention Connor fucking Gillespie in our house.
Oh, don't say it. Don't even say it. He whose name shall not be mentioned. Connor Gillespie
Yeah,
shall not be mentioned.
yeah, exactly. But that game was tough. I was at that game, and that game felt like we were going to win that game until that moment.
It did.
I just remember how electric that I mean, Syndergaard pitched one of the greatest games of his Met career, and there was just an
everybody
energy in that.
forgets about the great catch that Curtis Granderson had in center field too.
Yeah. That was that catch. So many great things, and it was disappointing when it ended with that one game. That
Yep.
especially the way that stretch run that last month of the season went. Felt like there was momentum being carried, and that I just feel like if we would have won that game, there might have been some postseason full of big Mets moments. I feel like that we would have been talking about years.
Yeah, I still say to this day that if the Mets had gotten past the Giants, the Cubs don't win the 2016 World Series, because it would have been Mets Cubs in the next round, and I believe that the Mets were in the Cubs' heads at that point, because the Mets had swept them the year before. And okay, we can't get distracted for too long on this, but because we've already gone way over what we were supposed to do on baseball. But yeah, I'm with you, Dan. I think the Mets would have made some noise in the playoffs that year. So all right, let's turn our attention now to a little basketball and hockey to round things out here as we come down the final stretch of this episode. But before we get into that, though, Dan, I do want to give a shout out. Our buddy Richard, we were talking to earlier. Not only did he say that they should have you on that reunion with Opie and Opie with Anthony and Jim, which would be awesome. And it would be nice to have a little reunion. But I want to say Richard gave us our first super chat in the history of Best Seat in the House podcast. $20. I mean, thank you so much, Richard. That's so nice of you. We really can't thank you enough. And Dan, would you like to read this super chat for Richard?
Yeah, I'll catch the rest of the podcast on Spotify tomorrow. You'll have a good evening. Keep up the great work. Let's go Mets. And you know who else appreciates that super chat donation? My mom. Woo!
Absolutely. So once again, thank you very much, Richard. That is very, very kind of you, and we really appreciate it. So hope you have a great night, and hope everybody who's joined us so far tonight has had a great night. Also, shout out to my sister who was hanging out in the chat there, saying Kramer and Bobo rule. There we go. You gotta love that. Shout out to you, Lee. Thanks for hanging out, and also
a little wave from the executive producer.
Exactly, from Grimace and PhD 42 586 loves the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, buddy. And Dan, so let's keep it rolling along here, and let's finish up here with the some Knicks and Rangers. And Dan, you know, everything, such a heartbreaking loss on Tuesday night. This was a game that I think it had 11 or 12 lead changes. It was going back and forth so often. It was like one shot here, one shot there. The lead would change. These teams were really gutting it deep. I didn't even think, because we're down to just the last couple of games of the NBA regular season. I didn't even think that that Boston was going to be playing their full lineup, but they did. They treated it like a playoff game, and so did the Knicks. Obviously, luckily we got Brunson back to have a full lineup. And man, it was a heartbreaking loss, 119, 117 in overtime. And I don't know about you, Dan, but when the Knicks took that 107-104 lead with 11 seconds left in regulation, I said to myself, they cannot let them hit a three here and tie it, or they're going to lose. And as soon as as soon as Jaylen Brown hit that 3-point shot to tie the game at 107 with about 4 seconds left,
cursing up a storm.
I knew it was over.
Yeah, I was cursing up a storm that game. Oh my! But that was a game I was watching. That like I caught that. Like I get home from the Mets game, set up perfectly. The game actually, I saw part of the Knicks game on my phone. I caught part of it on my phone. I had with the Gotham Sports app. I was like hearing the audio of it because I couldn't look at the screen on my phone because I'm walking and stuff. From the after I got off the train and stuff. But and I'm getting there, get home, get to the TV, grab some snacks, whatever. I grabbed my burger from Donovan's. I got to go out on my way back home. I grabbed a burger from Donovan's. I'm sitting there watching game, and I swear I thought I was gonna break something when I felt upset. Because I felt when I was upset. Oh, I swear this team gives me a these teams I'm a fan of really make me sweat it out, and I feel like even and I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing I could say about the Mets when also when the Knicks when we finally see the Knicks win the championships. It's gonna make me nervous as heck that day it happens. I'm telling you, it's gonna be sweat. It's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be similar to that moment in '94 when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. Remember how it's feel like that last couple of seconds went on forever? That's what this is gonna feel like. And I feel like that ninth inning when the Mets finally win a World Series. Let's just say I'm gonna picture the circumstance. Let's say it's Diaz in the mound in the World Series. He's on the mound. The trumpet music plays. That last out's gonna feel like an eternity. The last second, the same thing with the last seconds of that day when the Knicks finally win a championship is gonna feel like an eternity. This team just does this to me all the time.
Yeah, man. I mean, hey, they've had a really good year so far. I don't want to complain too much, but yeah, it's definitely a heartbreaking loss, and it's definitely going to be just like that you described if they ever get that far to a championship. And Dan, look, I mean, things are pointed in the right direction right now because if you noticed up there, I had the Knicks record. They're 50-29 as we come into the big game tonight, and they have won 50 games for the first time in back-to-back years since 94 and 95. Right?
Yeah, that I had to congratulate the Knicks on back-to-back years, taking it straight to the 90s. I mean, it feels like the Knicks near dynasty of the 90s is back. Only hopefully this time we get that title. And I feel like maybe tomorrow I'm probably going to crank up a mix of 90s tunes, maybe a mix of some 90s rock, and maybe a mix of a 90s, specifically East Coast rap. Because fuck the West Coast. East Side, bitches! East Side!
I like it. I like it. All Wu-Tang East Coast.
Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
All right, that's going to be in one of our clips this week. No doubt about it. And so, yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that, Dan. And not only you want to do the East Coast, West Coast thing, we got the Mets playing the West Coast. The Yankees are playing an East Coast team, West Coast team. So totally with you on that. And they might not be West Coast, but the Knicks are playing a team that's what in I guess they're still in the East, time zone wise, but they're playing the Pistons tonight, the Detroit Pistons. And if the Knicks get the victory tonight, they will clinch the number 3 seed in the East. And that's big, Dan. They were number 2 seed last year, number 3 seed this year. It's all about finishing as high as you can. And okay, we haven't gotten the number 1 seed in quite some time, but 2 and 3, that's pretty damn good too.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And I expect the Knicks to have a deep playoff run. Maybe, fingers crossed, they do it, and the both of us can celebrate a championship. The one championship that me, you, and Eastside Dave can all celebrate, the 3 of us on the same side.
Exactly. The one thing we're all on the same page.
And I feel like Donovan's Pub might not be able to handle 3 of us, especially with Eastside Dave at that bar. Eastside Dave.
Oh yeah.
Right, they're gonna really have to be ready for Eastside Dave celebrating a Knicks championship. Right. The moments after we were in attendance in the audience watching potentially watching that parade, because that's when one of my teams wins a championship. Donovan's my go-to after the parade.
Hell yeah, man. And yeah, no doubt about it, Davy Mack would be in rare form if the Knicks ever pull that off. And yeah, it all starts. Get the victory tonight, and you clinch that 3 seed. And the Knicks would be in good shape. Then after tonight, though, it's going to be the Cavaliers on Friday night for the second half of a back-to-back. So we'll have to see who even plays. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't played a lot of these, and with the Cavs being so good, who knows? Maybe they might be resting some people. So I guess we'll see where that goes. It'd be nice if the Knicks could finally beat either of these top teams. So I guess we'll see where it goes from there. But one more thing in the basketball before we round out here with the hockey, Dan, is that just the other day we found out that former Knick Carmelo Anthony was elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. The Syracuse alum and obviously Knicks standout player was elected to the Hall of Fame. And the question that got buzzing around in my head, Dan, is that, Carmelo has a weird legacy with the Knicks. Obviously, he was a great player. No doubt about it. He led the league in scoring one year. They had a 51 season under his watch one year, too. But that was just that. It was really just, 1 year. They only had one playoff series victory. So he is a Basketball Hall of Famer, and rightfully so. But, Dan, the question becomes, do you think Carmelo Anthony's number 7 should be retired at Madison Square Garden?
I feel like that is a question mark. I feel like it could go either way. I feel like maybe there's probably not going to chance that's going to happen, but I feel like there could be a chance if it does happen. If it does happen, I'm not going to complain about it. He was a good player on the Knicks. Just wish the teams they had better teams those years. I feel like. I just feel like the Knicks didn't do a good enough job having a team around him. As like
That's
what
true.
It's a big mistake in what a lot of and the NBA teams that win when you have a superstar of Carmelo's caliber have to build the right team around him. The Knicks wouldn't have won a championship in the Jordan years. I meant that the Knicks. I mean the Chicago Bulls. I lost my train of thought. The Chicago Bulls wouldn't have won that dynasty during the Jordan years if they were not smart enough to build the team around him. Build the team that could play, that could complement Jordan's ability. That's what the Knicks failed to do during the Carmelo Anthony years. And it showed right there. And just to think of what could have been had they prepared better. That team had been better prepared during that time, and a couple of other games that if like Carmelo wasn't injured and stuff. Remember that first round, and I think in 2010, for first time the Knicks were in the playoffs in ages. Yeah, that series against Boston.
Where Amari hurt his hand.
Yeah. To think how much better what the Knicks could have done had they won that series, because that was like the first time I felt like the Knicks were legitimate, had a chance to win in the playoffs in a long time. I'm watching that game and I that was the first time I feel like we weren't overmatched in the playoffs when I'm watching that game. And coincidence, it was against the Celtics of all things, and that game just had a wealth of emotions. And I'm just watching that scene like, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Am I watching a playoff basketball game for the first time in ages? Because I haven't watched. I hadn't watched much the NBA playoffs when the Knicks weren't in the playoffs.
And the last time they made the playoffs before that was 2004 when they got swept by the Nets. So it had been a long time.
Yeah, so it's like this is the first time that a playoff basketball game was appointment viewing for me during this, and that was a big letdown. And I feel like
unfortunately, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, I feel like that Carmelo's tenure here was screwed before he even got here, because Dolan interfered in the trade for him, and Donnie Walsh didn't want to give up the farm for him, and they pretty much gave up all these number 1 draft picks. They gave up players. They could have had such a deeper team had they just waited until free agency to sign Carmelo instead of trading for him. and they screwed themselves. And Dolan set this team back a decade, and instead of having a team where Carmelo Anthony could have competed and made the playoffs every year, they ended up just going for that 1 year, and that was it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I just feel like there just could have been a dynasty right there. We could have had that dynasty even with the failure to get LeBron James, which happened.
The thing is, though, it would have been tough to have a dynasty with really no matter what the Knicks did because of the Miami Heat and LeBron and all that down there. It would have been real tough. But at least we would have seen them in the playoffs more. At least they would have been competitive. And at least we would have had maybe a big time Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Heat or something like that at some point during Carmelo's run. But unfortunately for us, it just never materialized.
Yeah, and I feel like that was just a decade of like Knicks disappointment and Knicks offseason disappointment, because remember that hype, that LeBron James hype. The Knicks are getting LeBron James, and then we could have easily built the team the same way the Heat did, but somehow LeBron chose fucking Miami, and fuck you, LeBron James, for life.
Well said. Well said. I couldn't think of a better way to end the basketball segment there than fuck you, LeBron James. So shout out to you, LeBron. Hope you to hear that. And all right, then
you disloyal bastard, LeBron. He'll leave you. He'll leave your team in a heartbeat for free agency. He doesn't stick around.
No doubt about that.
This is the guy who turned his back on Cleveland twice.
And all right, then let's wrap things up here now with the Rangers. And boy, was last night's game really tough to stomach. Terrible loss for the Rangers. They, believe it or not, they're still in playoff contention. They're not eliminated yet. They could have actually helped their playoff chances had they just won the game yesterday, and they had a 4-3 lead with 6 minutes left. They were up 4-3, and they blew it, ended up losing 8-5. They allowed 3 goals in the final 6 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it was 5 goals. I don't know what I was thinking about there. But, they allowed 5 goals in the final 6 minutes. Rangers lose that game just in really, really ugly fashion. Dan, the only good thing about the game yesterday was that we got to see Sam Rosen and JD, John Davidson, the old Ranger goaltender, unite. And really thank you to TNT, the network, for doing that. We bitch a lot about the broadcasting of, not on our home networks, SNY, MSG, whatever it happens to be that time. But great, fantastic job by TNT to give this little treat to us Ranger fans, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a nice little treat to us Ranger fans, and they get to share this with the rest of the country, what us New Yorkers got to know growing up here in New York. One of the greatest broadcasting duos in New York sports, Sam Rosen and JD, and it was a treat to see them in the booth together one last time. I was a little bit bummed out a little bit during those power plays because I just wanted to badly hear that old school power play call. Like when JD said, "Oh baby, it's a power play goal." The way those power play goals used to be called back in the day, I badly wanted to hear that one last time. Here's John Davidson say that. I badly wanted to hear that, but yeah, that was just such a nice trip down memory lane, getting to see that one last time. But at the same time, it still annoys me that this team had the life drained out of them after last year, nearly winning the cup, 2 wins short of the cup finals, and a team that we actually felt last year were going to win it and didn't. But of course, unfortunately, didn't win it. To even worse of a season, not making the playoffs. What the fuck? I just hope that somehow it turns to be the complete opposite next year, not making the playoffs, and it ends up. I'm hoping for a worse to first next year badly, and I'm hoping that we manage, our GM, whatever, builds this team right during the offseason, because I feel like they need to, and I feel like there's ownership. For all I do not really get. I mean, sometimes I get annoyed with the job they do, but I feel like they want to do this right and get the Knicks get the Rangers a contending team next year, not disappoint on what's going to be the 100th anniversary of the New York Rangers.
They better put a contending team on the ice next year. You're right about that. And unfortunately for the Rangers right now, and I say that not even really ironically, the Rangers are actually up 3-0 right now on the Islanders as they're playing. Say what you want. The game started at 7:30 tonight. This was the game they're playing right now. The Rangers only need one more point from Montreal or one more team loss from them to be eliminated from playoff contention for the first time since 2021. So it's been a while since this team has not qualified for the playoffs, Dan. And it just the thing is, though, let's be honest with ourselves. Montreal has been so hot. There's no way the Rangers are catching them. They're not going to not get another point for the rest of the year.
I just feel
we're
like
done. We're out of the playoffs. And the thing is, you have to now look at the situation where we gave up a first-round pick for JT Miller this year. If the Rangers don't finish in the bottom 13, not only did we not make the playoffs this year, we don't have a first-round pick. Our first-round pick is bottom 13 protected. So the Rangers need to finish in the bottom 13, or we're screwed. If we don't have a first-round pick this year, what are you going to, you need something after a bad year like this. You need a first-round pick to at least say, okay, we had a shitty year, but we got this guy in the pipeline because of it. Whatever that may be. We got Alexis Lafreniere that one time, and we'll see how that pans out. But, for right now, Dan, when you look at this team, yeah, okay, I'm happy they're up 3-0 right now. It's nice to see them beating up the Islanders. But we have to keep in mind that you better stop. You better keep yourselves in that bottom 13 or you're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. We got to keep ourselves in the bottom 13. Maybe tank the rest of the way. As weird as I want to say that, but it's kind of what's going to happen. And I almost forgot there was a game today because I was just so disgusted from what I saw. I was so disgusted from what I saw yesterday. That game really hit me. That this team is. I'm gonna be clean shaven in April during
the scored. So it's 4-0 Rangers right now.
Yeah,
why couldn't they have done this yesterday?
Where was this yesterday? Normally I'd be like, I'd be seeing a Rangers winning. I'd be laughing at my Islander fan uncle. Out in Suffolk County, I'd be texting him. I'd be laughing, but I don't feel that energy because of this season drained the Ranger fan energy out of me. That's not gonna replenish that energy. That's not gonna replenish until next year.
Yeah, this season sucked the life out of everybody, and unfortunately, too, it looks like it sucked the life out of our head coach too. I've loved Peter Laviolette. I've been a defender of Peter Laviolette, but unfortunately, man, I've come to the conclusion that with what we've seen this year, I think Peter Laviolette does need to be fired. It's not all his fault. I cannot lay all the blame on him, but the fact is, you're the head coach, and we're relying on you to get this stuff done. We're relying on you, and it looks to me right now like he's really lost the locker room. I mean, they even were talking to him after the game the other day, and they said, what do you, after all these losses, after all these tough games you guys have gone through this year, what do you go into the locker room and tell these guys? What do you say to your team? And his response was, I don't talk to them. I don't go into the locker room after the game.
Yeah, I just feel like he's been disgusted of what he saw, and I feel like he just given up when he could easily just try to somehow get the most out of his team, actually talk to his guys, his players, and he's just given up. I feel like he's given up, and he just doesn't want to deal with the whole stress of it anymore. I feel like he's just asking to be fired. In the words of Ona, he's fired, so fired.
It's almost like he's doing his own Mayor Menino prank right now, where he's just trying to do anything to get the hell out of town. Because I don't blame him. This team has severely underachieved this year. It's partly his fault. I'm not going to let him completely off the hook for it, but this team just went into the tank, and I don't know what the hell happened to the President's Trophy team we saw last year, but this team has been a shell of themselves this year, for all intents and purposes. And Dan, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, another thing I have to say, and I feel like maybe I know there's people talking about Chris Kreider maybe should be gone, but I feel like maybe he probably will maybe needs to at least start the season on the Rangers again, because I feel like it looks like I noticed that he's kind of looking like he's playing hurt.
He's been playing hurt all year. He's got that back that has hampered him. So I agree with you. I would keep Kreider. The guy I would get rid of is Mika Zibanejad, and I love Mika, but he's just been so bad this year.
Yeah. I feel like we need to keep it. We need to keep Kreider in. I feel like this he just has that veteran presence. He's been here. He's been through the ropes. He's dealt with the pressure of wearing that Ranger sweater.
Yeah,
and we need to see what this guy can do healthy. I just feel like he's gonna have comeback player of the year next year.
I hope so, man. From your lips to God's ears. And let's just hope that we get a rebound season out of everybody next year. And Dan, with that, I think that's just about going to do it for us here on our live edition here on YouTube. That everybody hung out with us tonight. We appreciate everybody for taking their time and hanging out with us here on YouTube tonight. Before we get out of here, Dan, do you have anything to plug for yourself?
Sure. I'd like to plug my Twitter, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo718DK. Also, check out the Patreon. You'll have access to stuff Chuck's admitted. I'm going to film that. I've had to do a lot of stuff this week. So yeah, I'm and I'm seeing some family members going through some stress and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm going to be filming. I'll be filming a Trackside Minute pretty soon. You're gonna see Trackside Minute wrapping up what happened over in Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina, and you'll. So be on the lookout for that if you subscribe to our Patreon. And don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon, because it's only $5 a month. It is one of the greatest deals in New York. You're paying, that's almost the equivalent of a round trip on the subway. For $5, it's not bad of a deal.
Very true.
And it also makes a great gift. If you got like a friend's birthday or something, it makes a great gift. So subscribe to our Patreon.
That's true. Patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. We appreciate everybody that's already on there and anybody thinking about it. So thank you so much for all the support we've gotten already. Also, don't forget, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, April 19th, the day of WrestleMania Night 1, the Saturday. Me and Dan are going to be live just like this on YouTube in probably the early afternoon that day, doing our WrestleMania pre-show. And, it's going to be just a WrestleMania show. We did one last year that a lot of people enjoyed. We're going to do it again this year. And during that show, too, we're going to be giving away a couple of free subscriptions for a month or two, whatever it is, to our Patreon. So be sure to get on there. And anybody that gives us a good chat or anything we talk about, maybe you'll be getting a Patreon subscription out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely give a look at that. You're probably going to see me having to use my phone, because I'll probably be waiting for the gates to open up at Citi Field, because I'm meeting up with some people before the Met game. But I'll be outdoors, and you'll be seeing me doing a little WrestleMania pre-show.
Exactly. So everybody be sure to check us out
from a unique location.
Exactly. So make sure to check that out, everybody. We appreciate so much everybody hanging out with us tonight. As we said, want to also give one more special shout out to our buddy Richard, who gave us the super chat. Thank you so much for that, buddy. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody else for coming in. For the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. And we'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend.